Hey, Dr. C here. Today I'm continuing my series on things you can do for yourself to relieve your pain. We've gone through the overview and you understand the 5 basic pillars of pain relief, or the 4+1 pillars of pain relief. So today I'm going to start breaking down the pillars one by one. The first pillar I'm going to discuss is hydration. Hydration means consuming enough water and maintaining a proper fluid balance. It seems like a pretty simple concept, but most people don't consume anywhere near enough water and they live their lives dehydrated. The human body is made up of 60% water. That means that all your cells are filled with fluid, your blood vessels are filled with fluid, the interstitium is filled with fluid, and this fluid is necessary for normal physiologic function. If you don't have enough hydration, many of the systems of your body will break down, and if it goes too far, you'll die. It's a not unheard of cause of death, even in the 21st century, for people to die of dehydration. One of the first things that maintaining proper hydration does is help maintain normal body temperature. We are warm-blooded animals as humans, and we need to preserve our body temperature within a very normal and narrow range in order for all of our systems to function normally. If we overheat, these systems can break down and we can die. This is called heat stroke. If we become too cold, the systems can also fail and we can die from freezing. And there's a very narrow range of temperature that must be maintained for normal physiologic function. It is at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. And without adequate hydration, it's hard to maintain this normal body temperature. If you go outside on a hot day, you sweat. And if you're not adequately hydrated, you're not going to sweat. And this is when you will overheat rapidly. Hydration is also important for protecting the brain and for protecting the joints. Joints are filled with fluid, synovial fluid, and if you get too dehydrated, you can have decreases in the volume of synovial fluid. There's not enough cushioning to protect your joints. It's also necessary for the production of spinal fluid, cerebral spinal fluid, and so without enough hydration, you may not have enough production of the cushioning fluid that protects your brain and spinal cord. And these can be huge problems. It's hard to get that dehydrated or that volume depleted, water depleted, but it can happen. And so you really need to pay attention and be sure that you're consuming enough water every day. Hydration is necessary to eliminate waste. We urinate and we defecate for a reason, and without adequate hydration, it's hard to do both. If you're not drinking enough fluid, one of the first signs is you don't produce enough urine. And you may also note that the urine becomes concentrated, it becomes dark yellow or even brown, and you're not urinating very frequently. These are all warning signs that you're not consuming enough water, and they're evidence that the body is working hard to preserve all of the water that it has and keep from spilling it into the urine. That's why it's concentrating the urine so much. Dehydration can also cause constipation, and if you're taking medications for pain, those medications can also worsen constipation, and if constipation becomes severe enough, it can lead to bowel obstruction. So it's vital from an elimination of waste standpoint that you preserve proper hydration. Physical performance is directly related to hydration. Many of the normal cellular functions require very specific levels of hydration. And if you get dehydrated, you will lose enzyme function, you will lose hormone transport function, you can lose volume in your blood vessels, and that can lead to poorer oxygen transportation and diminished nutrient transportation. And all of this can lead to a decline in function. Water is necessary for digestion. If you don't have enough fluid intake, you can't digest your food properly. It goes hand in hand with constipation as well. You need adequate fluid intake in order to keep everything moving through your body normally and clearing out toxins and absorbing and distributing nutrients. There's emerging data that weight loss is tied to adequate fluid intake. And there's more and more evidence that both men and women have trouble losing weight in a state of dehydration. So if weight loss is your goal, you need to maintain proper hydration. That is proper fluid intake. Adequate hydration will reduce the risk of hypertension. It can reduce the risk of exercise-induced asthma. It can reduce the risk of developing urinary tract infections. It can reduce the risk of developing kidney stones. And as I said, it's important for absorbing vitamin and minerals that keep you healthy. So you may have malabsorption problems if you don't consume enough water. Water intake also boosts metabolism, and it can have a considerable effect. If you move from a dehydrated state to a hydrated state, you can see as much as a 30% increase in metabolic rate. That's huge, because metabolic rate is necessary for preserving and promoting energy. If you have a decreased metabolic rate, many times you'll feel fatigued, you'll feel tired, listless. By consuming adequate amounts of fluid, you'll feel better, you'll function better, and preserve your metabolic activity. Cognitive function is improved with adequate hydration. If you don't consume enough water, you'll be fatigued, you'll be less alert, you'll be more tired, your brain doesn't function as well. There are a number of neurochemicals that are dependent on adequate hydration and adequate CSF flow, or cerebral spinal fluid flow, in order to function properly. And so if you're dehydrated, you will feel sluggish, not just because you don't have adequate cellular function in the body, but because you don't have adequate cellular function in the brain either. Along with this decline in cellular function in the brain, you'll see a decline in mood. People who are dehydrated can become irritable, and they can become depressed. And all of this leads to a decline in performance. So now the question is, how much water is enough? And what are the best sources for water? Well, you can consume water by just drinking water. You consume water also by consuming food. Many foods have water in them, such as, vegetables and fruits. They have lots of water. But the amount of water that you should be taking in per day is probably somewhere around 100 ounces if you're a man, and 75 ounces if you're a woman. If you consider that 128 ounces is a gallon, that's a lot of water. I bet very few people are taking in that much water every day. How do you know if you're taking in enough water? Well, you should be urinating fairly frequently, and your urine should be clear, or almost clear. If it becomes dark, or becomes dark yellow or brown, then you be sure that you're probably not consuming enough water. And all of the side effects that we've discussed in this video will become more problematic. So this is one of the principal pillars of self-directed pain management. You have to stay hydrated. And if you do a review of your current fluid consumption, you'll probably find that it's well below 75 to 100 ounces of fluid a day. And at first, you're going to have to concentrate on taking in enough fluid. As you do it over time, it gets easier and easier. And water really is the best fluid to consume. You can get it in juices and other things, but you should concentrate on drinking water and avoid all of the other liquids that you might be drinking throughout the day, at least as a source of hydration. It's okay to add them on top. If you drink tea or coffee, that's fine, but it shouldn't be your sole source of liquid intake. And it's very hard to get enough fluid in just food consumption alone. Monitor your urine production. Make sure that you're urinating frequently, and make sure that it's fairly clear. And those will be good indicators that you're adequately hydrated. Can you become overhydrated? Is it possible to drink too much water? Yes, it is, but it's really hard. And I've only seen 1 or 2 cases of it in my entire medical career, and they were associated with mental illness. If you drink too much water, you can dilute out all of your electrolytes, and that is also a dangerous medical condition. But as I said, it's exceedingly rare. Almost everybody errs in the opposite direction. They simply don't consume enough water, and they experience all the negative side effects as a result. If you found this video interesting, please like it, and please subscribe to the channel. I have no way of knowing if this is information that's useful to you if you don't. And if you have further questions, please leave them in the comments. I will read the comments, and I will try to get back with additional videos in the future if there's information that I need to expand on. This is just an overview of the basic pillars of pain relief, and I will go into more depth in later videos if there is an interest. For now, thanks for watching.